Aries, hi. Come on in. You're here for your Aries October tarot reading, in which we're going to use a lot of astrology. It's not a horoscope, but it'll be more in depth than a horoscope, I think. I've been performing some spiritual work just now, and I am particularly in the mood to do your reading for you. I want to say hi to all of my subscribers in the United States and Canada, the United Kingdom, India, and the Philippines, New Zealand and Australia, France, Italy, Germany. Where else is there? Many other countries. I remember the next time people always say, oh, you should mention me. I'll do that next time. If I've missed you now, let me draw the cards, and then I'll bring a light over and put it over the cards so that you can have a good close look at them, and I'll be doing the reading for you. So let's see what there is to say. Okay, here we go. We're going to use 5 cards. That's all we're going to need, and that will tell us everything that's in store for you this month. So let's see what they are. Let's have a look at them. You will see them, of course. There is the Knight of Swords. What do we have here? The Knight of Coins. Some interesting people in your life, it seems, with some interesting messages for you. What's in the middle? Shall we have a look? Okay. The Two of Wands. This is the Five of Swords. And finally, the Seven of Cups. Okay, why don't you come down, sit down next to me. I'll bring the light over and shine them down so you can have a good close look at these cards and their lovely artwork.
All right, Aries, well, what a fascinating set of cards it looks like you have for this month. Let me deal firstly with this first card that you drew, which is the Knight of Swords, and as has become our practice recently, I'm going to focus in a little bit on it so that you can see some of the imagery that's associated with this card. The first thing that I note, this is actually the first time I've seen this card, I notice here that both the rider and the horse itself are very heavily armored. The rider has in the crest of his helmet a large peacock feather or set of feathers. That is a sign of spirituality. The horse has as its crest a red dragon. You might be able to see that there. Now, interestingly, here is the sword that the Knight of Swords holds, and look at this thing here. This is in the shape of a swastika. Now, the swastika doesn't have the connotation in this deck or in tarot as was employed by the Germans in World War II. Rather, this is a holy symbol of the Eastern religions, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Buddhism, and is often placed above the door of the house that the person lives in. Also appears at the beginning of financial statements. It refers to divinity and spirituality, and it's particularly used in the Indian religion's festival of Diwali, or Diwali, as is sometimes pronounced, which is representing the triumph of light over darkness, of good over evil, and of knowledge over ignorance. The horse has another Indian symbol here on its flank, which is that of the yin and yang symbol, which is change and flux, and of course changes all the way throughout our lives. A skull down here with a flower growing out of it, another flower growing there, and another flower there. this is interesting. There's quite a fierce-looking face that is painted, well, not painted, but is emblazoned upon the breastplate of the horse's armor. Can you make that out? 1, 2 eyes, and quite a fierce-looking face. Let me pull out a bit and we can look at the card in the context of the other cards which are around it. Now, what does this card mean for you? Well, first of all, I'll say that it could actually refer to somebody that's in your life or someone that you're going to have contact with during this period. And such a person is, it's swords, yes, may well be an air sign, but of those, I think it's likely to be an Aquarius. I would also say that you are likely to have dealings with a Capricorn, the prince of the chariots of the winds, I refer to this card as. Esoterically, a knight is air, and he's in the suit of air, so he is the airy part of air. So what image do you get from that? It's very much of an intellect which is twirling around and around and around, lots of air. It's a young person, I think, who is quite intellectual, full of ideas and plans, very clever, but unstable, somebody who is elusive and can be quite domineering and really quite impressionable. That is, take on the ideas and the plans of other people. The other thing I'll say about this person is that they're really capable of putting forward any argument. They're really quite glib, often without having any regret or remorse for things that they say. They're elusive and elastic. That's what I'm getting the feeling of from this card for you this month. But these people are valuable really when they are mastered by an intelligence which is superior to that of their own. These are people that tend to say, look, why bother? Life is too short, too much maintenance. They can become fanatics for the latest fad or undefined humanitarianism. They can become fanatics in music or religion. They can also drink a lot. They are very prone to drinking a lot of liquor. And but even then, even though they have a fanaticism for these things and can get into them in quite some detail, there is no stability. They wander really from one cult to or other, or from one vice to another, always supporting their move with a fanaticism which is actually really no more than just the whim of the moment. I think that this is saying to you, look, I think that you are highly intelligent yourself, and you will, I think, during this period be enjoying thinking about things, questioning things, philosophizing things. I think you will be good at creating ideas quickly. And the danger is, though, that you might move on without developing them, because his intellect, I think, can be quite draining to those who can't keep up with him. I think you will be really rather independent. And it's possible that some people might find you difficult to get to know during this period, you know. And it's possible that some people, because, look, sometimes we go through phases, don't we? I think that there's a chance here that there is going to be the case that some people may well find that, and this isn't you as a rule, but that you lack emotional warmth and empathy. I think that what this is saying is that it may well indicate a need for you to slow down and analyze your thoughts to see if something practical can be gained from them. And that's really the message that I'm getting there. I would be having this sort of a thought in mind during this period, and it is this, that my creative possibilities have no limits, but they need to be grounded. They need to be grounded. That's all there is to that. Here we have the Five of Swords. Now, This is an energy, I think, which has been around you for some time. It's moving away from you in that position. It's being pushed out of the spread and out of your life by this Knight of Swords, which is superior to it, and it's pushing it down and pushing it away. There's a reaction, I think, to it, which shows up in this card, and I'll get to that next. But you have a fantastic set of cards which really overcome them all here. We're going to look first at some of the imagery on this card, shall we? Here we have, well, you can see it's the 5. Now, the first thing I'll say about the 5 is that the 5 can, from a numerological point of view, often relate to instability, exaggeration, chaos. Yes, exaggeration is what I'm getting at. Making big deals out of things. That is, turmoil, in a good or in a bad way, is what I'm getting. It is associated for me with the planet of Mars, which has a tremendous amount of energy with it. But Mars can be quite impersonal and quite unforgiving, but it does provide tremendous energy to you. And of course, with you, it's your ruling planet. And so I think that what this card is saying is that were this to show up for somebody else, I would be more alarmed. But for you, I'm not, because the influence of Mars in here is, I think, very conducive for you for this month. But let us look at some of this imagery, shall we? Here we have a person, a man by the looks of it, lying down and using a hookah. Well, when I say using a hookah, I don't mean that in the present sense of the term, but as an object which one is able to smoke opium through, of course. I don't know what else you might have thought. And here, of course, he has some slippers which are reminiscent of those kind of curled slippers that an Indian Raj would wear. He's lying beneath a ramshackle house or tent that is coming down, and the swords, the hilts of the swords, really have figures on them which to me appear to be, and I get the feeling of vampires out of them. That is, those things which come about and seek to suck the life force out of you, such that anything could possibly ever suck the energy out of you. But here it is. Let's have a look at it. This card is about fear. It's a self-induced fear, I think, and sometimes I think that it indicates that your self-esteem might take a blow momentarily during the month. But look, I wouldn't concern yourself with that. That's the ebb and flow of life. You should maintain your optimism and your great pioneering spirit. You have great beauty and strength associated with you. It's well known that Aries women are among the most beautiful in the zodiac, and so use that to your advantage as well. I think sometimes it may be the thoughts that if you look back on the past and say, look, something didn't work out in the past, and so there's no point in me trying to do something new again. But the past is the past. And past events have different causes. There are different circumstances. There are different energies surrounding things. And what this is saying is that there is for you, the ability to continue moving forward. Now, astrologically, I see this as Venus ruling the first decan of Aquarius, the 22nd of January to the 29th of January. Now, in ordinary astrology, Venus rules Taurus, which is an earth sign. But here we have Venus in an air sign in this card. And the two are at odds. Because Venus is really... Venus is about beauty and love, but the good thing, Aries, is it's also about money. So beauty and love and money are coming into your life. Aquarius is very independent and quite a rebel, and it's individualistic, and it can be quite dispassionate, according to some people. That's the way that they go about things. And so you see that there is something of a clash, don't you, in the planetary relationship of Venus in Aquarius. Now, Venus is overwhelmed, I think, by the fiery and dispassionate nature of Mars, right, in the card. And so there really isn't what I would call an astrological harmony in the energy which is surrounding you. But this is a momentary thing, and of course it's being pushed out. I very much get the feeling that this is something which has been with you for some time, that you've had a reticence of something going forward, a fear, that is to say that, look, I've tried something before, it didn't work out, therefore I'm not going to do it again. But this is here really, I think, to say to you that, look, you have got to do that. You have got to let things go again. You've got to push things forward. I'd say that I am not my fears. It is safe for me to live without guarding and defending myself all the time, and when I feel afraid, I open my heart and let love dissolve the fear. Sometimes this can relate to, I think, a betrayal or a sneak attack by somebody who you thought was a friend. It turns out that they did not have your best interests in mind at all. And sometimes it can be related to things to do with work, where you've tried to get things done and you've been pushed down or criticized in a way, in an ignorant sort of way is what I'm seeing. That there's ignorance of others coming in there to sort of criticize you. Mainly, I think, because they're jealous of you is really what I'm getting here, is that you do have, I think, some arrows of jealousy coming towards you during this period, is what it's saying. These swords of jealousy coming towards you. And but when those arrows of jealousy stop coming, then you may as well throw in the towel, because you can say that you have lost your looks, or you have lost your fine intellect and energy. I think that this is on the way out. It's something which is going to it's going to rear its head, or it's something that may have reared its head probably in the last month or so. And I think that there is really coming from it a period now where you're really getting over it. But the issue is that you're being reminded to actually take life by the throat, and to not become a victim of any ignorant criticism that other people make of you. I'm looking at the Seven of Cups here. Now, I love the number 7. The number 7 is really about pushing things forward. It's about making things happen. It's about overcoming obstacles. It's about new things occurring. It's about new adventure, and it's about new successes. In a nutshell, the number refers to victory, and the planet associated with it for me mystically is that of Venus, which is, as I said before, all about beauty and love and money. But sometimes you can't see what these things are, although they may be ahead of you. Let's have a look at some of the imagery on this card. Here we have a woman sitting down on some sort of a chair. Sadly, I don't know much about furniture. I am a man. I just know how to sit down and use the remote control for the television. But she's dreaming, you see. And these are the cups. This is the 7 of Cups. Now, in this first cup, or cup substitute, is a bottle with an imperfectly sealed wax seal, which is allowing vapors to escape. And that would contain exhilarating and intoxicating liquor. Here is like a china jar, where there is this woman, as an old woman, lovingly holding hands with a lover or her lover in their old age. Here is, well, you know what a hooker is now. That is letting the vapors escape. Now here is a lotus, a golden lotus. Now the lotus is about spiritual renewal. It's about renewal in mystical thought, and the water's contained in it. Here is a silver cup, and it has in there the features of, I think the kind of the ghosts that inhabit the woman's shadow self, her subconscious self. Here is a cup made from clouds, which are water. Now, here is a cup which is the only cup you'll notice that doesn't have any water spilling from it. And this cup is actually an image of the woman herself. And the fact that there's no water spilling from it says to me that this is a confirmation that you have within you everything, that you are enough. You have always been enough, and you are always enough. And I think what this card is saying, though, is I call this card the card of illusory success. It's Venus again. Venus ruling the third decanate of Scorpio, 13th of November to the 22nd of November. Now, Venus, as we mentioned, is the planet of love, and Scorpio is about intensity, in-depth transformation, and exploration of the self and of others. But the thing is that, for me, as I see it, Venus doesn't really have any handbrake applied here. I've got Venus, of course, in the 7, so there's Venus, and I have Venus in the astrology of the card. Now, in ordinary astrology, when you put those horoscope wheels up, the YouTube astrologers will tell you that when you move a planet, and I see the planet here as being, the planet moving over into Scorpio, as I say, Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. So we can't express its sensitivity and emotions properly. Instead, I think there's the danger that they can be channeled into negative addictions and intensity, which is the darker side of Scorpio. It implies that we indulge in excess reactive behavior due to something that has affected us deeply and changed us. And it may have been some of these things that are coming in here. Because even though you are very strong and very beautiful, and even though you have everything going from you, you are nevertheless really quite sensitive deep down. You don't have that brusque, shell-like exterior. You have the enthusiasm and the innocence of a child, and your feelings can get hurt. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's the beautiful thing about you. But it can imply, I think, that we can find that we say that we get into things to cover over our hurt feelings. The card represents the working of Venus in the sphere of the mind, I think, where her influence is by no means clear-sightedness, shall I say. We believe what we want to believe when we are under the influence of Venus. All right? Do you understand what I mean by that? I'm sure you do. I think that this can sometimes also have the danger, the side effect of indulging in addictive emotions which don't really represent your highest good. And it can show itself by way of overeating or overdrinking, drugs, sexual activity. It can sometimes, I think, show out as us being kind of getting a little bit depressed. And what we do is we self-medicate. If you follow my access, we self-medicate with other things that take our minds off us. Those negative patterns of behavior that we are called to. And I think that maybe this is saying is, look, just recognize that perhaps you've lost control over the particular situation. You see, it's just data situation. You don't need to take things personally. It's just data, and you need to get back to where you are. And You will regain your personal power. Now, let's have a look at this card here, which is the Knight of Coins. The Knight of Coins has what to say to you? Well, first of all, look at the type of horse that this is. Now, you saw this horse with the Knight of Swords. He was all about battle, this horse, wasn't he? Fit, strong, going about battle. This horse is far more sturdy. It's what I would call a shire horse, one that's more used to pulling carts or going, ploughing fields and things like this. The knight, actually looking at him, and I'm, of course, cognizant that this is a Renaissance deck, he actually reminds me of Marco Polo going out and surveying the Great Wall of China. Do you get that impression from that? I certainly do. And here we have, in the coin that he's holding, the image of a tortoise, which is about strength and stability and progress. All right, progress, strength and stability. Esoterically, he is air, and he is in the suit of coins, which is the suit of earth. Now, in elemental dignity rules, the fact is that air and earth don't necessarily get on with each other. They can, well, you can see the effect that tornadoes have, for example, on the landscape and on everything that's built there. There can sometimes be conflict there. And so those elements weaken one another, I think. And so we can expect to see some sort of a conflict in the nature of this person. Now, this person, as coins, may well be an earth sign. And if it's the case, it's a Taurus. But you know what? I also think it could well be you during this period. The Prince of the Chariot of Earth, I call him. In love, he doesn't rush in, and he leaves to, well, he tends to cultivate things over time. He generally tries to set a good example to others and uses traditional values, but he's energetic, he's a capable manager, he's a steadfast worker, slow to anger, but look out if you get him riled up. There's no doubt about that. However, what this is saying to you is that I do think that you are going to be able to adapt to circumstances and turn them to your advantage with a slow, steady, well-thought-out plan. And you'll have great energy to bring to bear on practical matters, I think. Really practical type of stuff. Not all the intellectual things necessarily, but practical things. Things where you use your hand and you apply your intellect to produce things, to make things. You'll be ingenious, thoughtful, cautious, trustworthy, and you will, I think also, it has to be said, find that I think that this is a period of time when you're going to be taking responsibility for your life and being focused. You could be quite good at sport, interestingly. You'll be interested in design and building things. Now, by this I don't mean bridges and freeways, but it can extend to things like gardens, to around the home. It can refer to fashion and makeup and hair, that design type of aspect I'm getting there. Colour, putting this with that, making things happen. You'll be putting effort into practical things. But again, and it's talking to me about something that we touched on before, which is that there may be a danger that some people could think that you're lacking emotional warmth. But this is a time in your life when you are going to be goal-oriented and want to sort out the material side of your life with health and career things, and that is all those things that are tangible to you, and you've got the backing of the cosmic energy to do so. Now let's have a look finally at this card here, the number 2. Well, what do we have here? Now, if you look at this card, the 2 of Wands, the suit of fire. The first thing about it I'll say is that actually those wands really, they just look like one wand which happens to have been split into 2, don't they? It looks like there are 2 wands, but the ends have got fire coming from them, and that is the fire of the divine spirit. I'm just looking at the figures that are upon there. There is a figure sitting down here and a figure here. This is related. Look, there is a story by a play by the English playwright Christopher Marlowe in the late 1500s, in the Elizabethan period, that was called Dr. Faustus. And what Faustus did was that in return for, he made a pact with the devil, that in return for unlimited knowledge of magic, he would transfer his soul to the devil. And the devil said, listen, Faustus, I'll give you 24 years. And he used his emissary, this is the devil, he used his emissary here, Mephistopheles. That's a sort of a demonic name, isn't it? Mephistopheles. To be his messenger and to do this. Now, Mephistopheles, of course, did nothing but trick him and make things happen to him in a bad way, which is what you'd expect from a demon, because they never keep their words, because, of course, they come from the Prince of Darkness. And anyway, the end of the period of 24 years came, and of course it was called upon, and this is, I think, Faustus recognizing here that, gee, the time has come. He's got to die and be taken off with the devil, to be dragged off, no, into the bounds of hell. Well, what this is saying to you is that this is the Lord of Dominion. It's I think, Mars, your planet, in Aries. Very, very good for you. The Lord of Dominion. Very much the case that you will be, for certain, using your willpower to break through stagnant situations, removing long-standing blocks. It's a time for you to act on things and act on your instinct and what you believe to be right without overthinking the situation. Your powers of dynamic leadership, ability, and energy are building up. And I'd say that you should have this thought in mind. I find the strength I need now in my center. You will be overcome with fierceness and boldness, generous, a little proud, but your will, your spirit is rebelling against predisposed boundaries, and you're moving forward. That's the way it is for you this month.
Well, there we are. There it is. The month of October for you. I really hope you enjoyed that reading as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. I think it's going to be a fantastic month, and you've got great things in store for you, so well done. All I can say is this, is that you've been absolutely brilliant. You've been fantastic, as you always are, and really the only thing that remains for me to say is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, bye for now.